I'm portraying Anne Sexton. She was born in 1928. She lived in Massachusetts for most of her life. She eloped with this man who she thought was the love of her life, who became her husband. They lived in Boston. She suffered from hysterical episodes starting after the birth of her first daughter and was institutionalized for that. And then she had her second daughter and was institutionalized again. She struggled a lot with mental health, and when she first went to her therapist, he was like, you need to do something to channel this. And she said, well, I think the only thing I'd be good at would be a prostitute because I make men feel sexually empowered. So he suggested that she started writing, and she started writing poetry and was immediately recognized. Her poems are highly sexual. They talk about the things that often poets were too scared to talk about during that time. So she talks about sex, and she talks about her mental health, and she talks about suicide, and she talks about being a woman and what that meant in that time. Trying to be deeply provocative in her ideas. She was trying to push boundaries, but also it was her salvation. I'm terrified to be portraying her. She feels like this massive figure who wanted to be so much and was so much. She was one of the first recognized female poets in the American canon. She was one of the first poets who was female who really got to make a living off of her poetry. She's one of the most recognized female poets even to this day. And then there's also the personal stuff of how she handled her depression with alcoholism, and how she handled being a woman, and how she handled being a mother, and how it was often too much for her. So I'm very excited, but also very intimidated by portraying her.